It says I'm signed out. Maybe I need to sign in. I'll sign in real quick.
Oh, well, no, you should be there. Okay.
Oh, I see it now.
We should be live.
Okay, I'm just gonna get signed in right so that if I comment over there, then it's.
Yes.
Oops, I did sign out. Why am I bad at technology?
I'm just typing Happy New Year in the comments. Yay,
Okay.
Ian's here from Scotland. He's
Hi, Ian.
Ian is one of my patrons. He's from Glasgow. And I mean, I think he's lived lots of places, but yay.
That's very cool.
It is super cool.
Okay.
Good morning. Happy New Year from Kansas City, Missouri. Good morning. Well, it's not morning for some of you. It's not morning for Ian, that's for sure. But it's morning for me.
Okay, I can see the comments now.
Awesome. It is 9 a.m. here in Wyoming and the weather is horrid. And here we are. Lindsay's here. Happy New Year. Good. Lindsay, I don't know why I don't see the little wrench by your name. Maybe you logged in differently. I don't know if you're going to. Yeah, I don't know. Jane is here from Indiana. Kathleen's here from Pennsylvania. She's another one of my patrons. Shout out to my patrons this morning for joining us. Yay.
I'm going to open my window shade a little more.
Okay. It is chilly here. Oh, Roxanne's here from Washington State. Wendy from Puyallup, Washington. I do know how to say that. Ooh. Puyallup. I lived there when I was in 5th grade.
How do you say it?
Puyallup. Puyallup.
Puyallup.
Good morning,
I'll leave that.
Delilah. I'm not sure how she says her name, but she's in my group as well. Lynn is here from Minnesota, another patron, and I'm holding my keyboard because here goes Peanut again. The cat walks across. He'll push stuff if I don't hold my keyboard when it goes across. Happy New Year from New Brunswick, Canada. Yay! Woo. Happy New Year from sunny Montrose, Virginia. Maybe I'm not saying that correctly. Houston, Texas, Kristen. Pat from the Virginia side of the Cumberland Gap. Happy New Year's.
Everybody's from so many different places.
I know, isn't it fantastic? East Tennessee, so cool. Ontario, Canada, Ohio, Alabama, Veronica Weber from Alabama. That's so cool. I mean, honestly, while we're talking about like resolutions and being grateful and all that, cheesy cliche stuff, which, I mean, I like cheesy, don't get me wrong. But it makes me super thankful. I mean, 20 years ago, we would not be doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, just the technology is fantastic that allows us to visit with people from Scotland or Connecticut and Wyoming and Washington and wherever. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. We live in the future.
It's true. And remember when Back to the Future came out in the 80s, we all thought the DeLorean was fantastic, and now look at us.
Yeah.
Ah.
Okay, I got my needles.
Yay, there's Doreen from Connecticut.
Where in Connecticut? You don't have to say. I'm in the Granby area, I'll tell you that much. So.
Alabama, Jackson, Mississippi, it's nippy.
Is that another person in Connecticut? Dorothy Freeman. Oh, she mentioned, I saw that the other day, Dorothy, that you're from Connecticut too.
Yeah, she's one of my patrons. Dorothy Freeman is one of my patrons. This person is Doreen Carr, I believe. Oh, Susanna from Sweden. Yay!
Hi.
Cassandra Stahl from Lake Erie, Pennsylvania. Valley Center, Kansas. Oh, Ontario. Oh my gosh, this is fantastic. Oh, there's Jill from Illinois. Yay! Jill's my podcast partner, and Lindsay are my podcast co-hosts. So.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes, from Illinois. So. Oh, Nebraska neighbor. Yep. Are you getting this craptastic wind we're having? Oh my word.
That does not sound fun.
I know it's not. I sent you the screenshot on the interstate. Yeah, which is like 10, 12 miles away. There's a center from Department of Transportation, and what did it say? Like gusts to 75, 80 miles an hour. It's dumb.
That's crazy.
Oh, there's Jean Volman from Oregon. Jean, are you on the coast in Oregon? I spent 15 years in the Newport area. That was fun. Okay, so you're casting on, and I am not yet. I mean, I will.
Well, I'm trying to get Knit Companion to cooperate with me right now.
Yeah, I can't do that. I mean, someone's going to have to teach me, but I've said this several times. The problem that I have is the only thing I have that will work with the app is my phone. And it's kind of small to be doing that with. Like my iPad is 12 years old. It was like the second iPad that ever came out. And it won't work with any of the newer apps. So mostly we just use it to like the kids watch Netflix on it. That's about it.
Yeah. All right.
So I don't really have anything I can use Knit Companion with, but if I ever get like a new, or maybe one day they'll make it so you could use it on your laptop. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I meant to look and see, because sometimes the apps that you can use, because I just got a MacBook, and sometimes the apps that are for devices you can actually use on the Apple laptop. So I actually meant to look that up.
Yeah.
Last night, and I didn't. Whoa, someone says they're here from Shetland. Tina?
Wait, where? Oh, and Happy New Year. Billy's here, the MRI Maakers. Yeah, Billy.
Did he make it on? Hi, Billy.
He did. That's Billy Middleton, Harriet Middleton.
Oh, maybe that's what Tina was saying.
Maybe, but hi, Billy. We're glad you made it. Happy New Year to you. It is afternoon in Shetland. And yeah, that's great. I'm so happy you made it. So what I want to do real quick though, I can't just keep up with all the destinations, but we're super happy you're here. But what I want to do is give a quick shout out to Billy. He is the mastermind behind all the tech stuff, the website, the pattern. He's the one that, took the pattern and like made it a PDF and right. I mean, all of it, because
he transferred it from a finished hat or finished whatever to the paper pattern.
And kudos to Billy, because Billy like didn't grow up. I mean, Billy's not a knitter. He is now.
I'm just gonna hop over and shut my door real quick.
I think we can all agree that Billy is a knitter now, for sure. But that's fantastic.
Yes, he has earned it.
He has earned it, absolutely. So I think that's amazing. And I also want to say that Billy is also in charge of like all the customer service. When you hit that contact form and you send in a question to the MRI Maakers website, Billy is fantastic. I mean, he's gotten back to me like within minutes, or at the very least within a couple hours. Just amazing. So.
Okay, Tina is not from Shetland.
Okay, let me scroll.
She's just excited that the MRI Maakers are here.
So am I. So, okay, so Roxanne says, what cast on is recommended? Well, there are 6 patterns. So if you're doing the cowl, or the headband, then it doesn't specifically recommend one cast on or another in the pattern, but we are doing the provisional cast on, because you knit the tube and then fold it, and then you're going to pick up those live stitches and either Kitchener them or I'm going to do a 3-needle bind off, because you attach the halves.
Right.
And so I know we've talked about that before, but the other cast on, I 90% of the time use the long tail cast on.
That's what I'm using for the gloves. It's what I used for the hats. Someone was asking the other day if they should cast on in ribbing. Some people know how to do that, but the hats and things that start with a corrugated rib, that corrugated rib doesn't pull in on itself like a normal tutu rib. It lays flat once it's knit. So you don't really need to cast on in ribbing.
Yeah, I did not. Well, and is it the first? Yeah, I didn't cast on in ribbing. I just cast on the long tail cast on like I always do, and started knitting the ribbing. Now, the colors here are knit. The black or the dark charcoal on mine, that is Purl. It is a knit tube, Purl tube, but it doesn't, like Anne said, it doesn't draw in like your standard, ribbing, right? It doesn't work like that. So I don't know why they call it corrugated. Huh.
I don't either.
Huh.
I can't answer that. Oh, there's someone else from Connecticut.
Yes.
There's a lot of Connecticut people.
I know, all you northeastern. Beth is here from northern Michigan. Fantastic. Another patron. Yay.
Yay.
Let's see. So, yeah, I know. Billy's fantastic. He emailed me back at 2 a.m. his time. He rocks. Well, it's New Year's Eve. I wonder if Billy's gotten any sleep. Oh, we love you. Thank you for all your help. So listen, one thing I want to talk about before I forget, because I'm super forgetful and I haven't had a lot of sleep either. One thing I want to say is I had some difficulty with the hat pattern, with understanding the difference with yarn B and everything else. So the newer patterns, the newest version on yarn B, when you look at that color, if you have trouble differentiating that color from the other colors, it does have little hash marks or little texture lines inside that block. If your pattern does not have that, try to re-download it. Go back to your original email, the link that you had, and download it again. If you have trouble downloading again, then go to the contact form on the MRI Maakers website, mrimaakers.com. That's Maakers with 2 A's. Go to, and then fill out the little form, give them your order number if you have it, at the very least your email address, and Billy can send you the updated version.
Right.
Right. But only do that if you've tried yourself first. Because, you know, Billy's awesome and we don't want him to have to spend his entire holiday emailing us all. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And you may have actually gotten the correct pattern, so just check.
Yeah,
because I guess what happened was there were 2 versions of the pattern on the server still, and so sometimes it was drawing the corrected ones for the download, and sometimes it was drawing the mistaken ones. So
right,
you may have one. Just look and see if there's hash marks.
Okay, Lynn from Minnesota, she is one of my patrons, and you should see some of the sweaters that she has made. She shows up to Patron Knit Night in these fantastic Fair Isle things. She's amazing, and she is very adverse in color work. So she says corrugated ribbing is where you knit with one color and purl with the second. It doesn't give you the same stretchiness as using one color as you. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. I just don't know why they call it corrugated.
And I think
of that as being, you know, and you don't get that effect with it. It just ends up being even.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, San Diego. I think that's the first West Coast person I've seen.
Cool.
Let's see. Billy says I may have a few more hat patterns to reissue. That's all right. We are grateful for your quick service. That's awesome. Okay, Pat says I was able to tell the color difference on the hat pattern on my computer screen versus printing, so I made my own hashtags, or my own, you know, she made her own lines on her printed pattern.
Okay.
And that's brilliant. So either do that or write the little letter B in the square on your pattern. You know, I did that a couple of times. Good morning. I have a teenager that's emerging. But, you know, it's not that late in the morning here, and they did stay up, so.
Yeah.
Right. So that's awesome. Let's see. Oh, MRI Maakers says, I prefer the term mock ribbing, like pretend ribbing. Yeah. Oh, hello from Denmark. Oh, and Seville, Spain. Wow. I'm so
I love Spain.
I've never been anywhere, honestly.
Spain's beautiful.
Well, I mean, I went to Canada before you had to have a passport. You know, like, I don't know, when was that? Back in the late 80s.
Yeah, like into the 90s, I think.
I don't know.
I feel like that was a new I feel like we didn't have to have them for a while, and then 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
They went back to making us have them.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Delee says, I feel like I've been cheating. I started the headband to test it out, and I've never Fair Isle knitted before, so I went to the stash out of the wool yarns and well, yay.
That works.
Right.
Oh.
Right. Oh, somebody from the Netherlands. Fantastic.
Ooh.
Yay. Okay, there was a question I lost here. Wait a second. Somebody asked me which provisional cast on I'm going to do on the headband. You know, I'm going to do the one unless there's some reason not to, like I mentioned in the Harvest cardigan video when I had that issue with the pattern and the extra knit row, blah, blah, all that. I don't think that's going to be a problem with this particular, in this instance. I'm going to cast on using the crochet method where you have the needle and you go around and you just put it right on. I think it's faster. Then I don't have to, like, you know, use my progressives and determine where are the bumps in the crochet chain and which is the dinosaur humpy on the back. So
yeah,
right.
And I use the bump method just because that's what I was taught, and it worked fine for me. But that with the where you do the crochet chain and pick up through the bumps, which I think you showed first in the video.
Yeah.
That one is trickier because if you accidentally twist the chain and stop picking up through the right bump, then when you go to rip it out after.
When you need to unzip it, right.
So, yeah, so working around the knitting needle is a more foolproof method. So just to be aware.
Well, right. And I mentioned that you don't have to determine where the dinosaur spine is located.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, Vienna, Austria. Happy New Year.
Welcome.
Oh, and Robin says I started yesterday too. I had cast on anxiety. Robin will be here for you. Oh, there's Karen Murphy from she's from Georgia. Good morning. She's one of my patrons also. Phyllis Weaver from Idaho. Shout out again to all my patrons. It's so cool to see you guys here this morning. That's fantastic. So I want to say we both, Ann and I, have Patreon pages. So if you want to know what that is, go to www.patreon, patreon.com / whatever Ann's is.
Mine's I Thought I Knew How.
I thought I knew how. And mine is patreon.com / Purl Together. So that's a situation where it's like pledging to your local public radio station or whatever, where you pledge a couple of dollars a month in trade for patron rewards. So we both offer various things depending on the level of support. So go check that out if you're interested. Oh, there's Fern. She's from Minnesota. Shout out to Fern. She's one of my brand new patrons last week. Yay.
I want to say hi to Kelly too. She's on my group a lot. Kelly, if you go to the Facebook group, to my Facebook group or to Jana's Facebook group, the tutorial for the provisional cast on has been posted there. Or if you just look down on YouTube, it's on. Right.
It's on my
channel. We're doing this on YouTube, so.
Yeah, it's the Purl Together YouTube channel. It's the video I uploaded yesterday. So it should be right there at the beginning. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so I actually, I have not.
My first row, Jana.
I'm behind. So I'm doing the headband in these warm colors, the autumn colors that I got from Needlepoint Joint. So that was awesome. They sold a bunch of kits to all of our people.
Great.
You got, yep, and that's gonna knit up like this.
It's beautiful, except I'm doing the gloves.
You're doing the gloves.
I'm doing the gloves.
We want you to understand that there will be lots of back and forth, lots of chatter, lots of stuff going on in the Purl Together Ravelry group. You're welcome to ask questions in the I Thought I Knew How Ravelry group. However, the threads that will be used for all of the prizes, all of the giveaway and all of the prizes are happening in the Purl Together Ravelry group. So ravelry.com / Purl Together. I don't know, just search for it.
Search for it.
It's in the link. I mean, it's in the links of all this videos on my channel. It's in the video description. Anyway, yeah, you can do it. You can hunt for it. Oh, Pat says, Jana, I'm a new patron today, like 45 minutes ago. I saw that. Thank you so much. Just before I logged in, I have a list of people to go and thank and add to our group. And that's awesome. Fantastic. So we have several. Anne has this spreadsheet. She sent me a spreadsheet this morning with all these fantastic prizes. Cast on prizes, works in progress prizes. Now this is different than the grand prize bundle for at the end of the month. Right. So Anne's I didn't print it yet, so thank you.
I printed it. Why don't you cast on? And I'll walk us through this so that you have time to get your cast on done.
But I wanted everybody to understand though that all of the prizes, all of those threads are happening in the Purl Together Ravelry group.
Yes, you have to go to the Purl Together Ravelry group and do specific postings and such to qualify for these prizes. So the first prize that will be, not like the first prize, but the initial prize that we'll be giving away is the cast on prize. And to qualify for the cast on prize, you have to go to the Purl Together Ravelry group by January 4th at midnight Eastern time, which is
Saturday.
on Saturday, which is 9 p.m. Pacific time and 5 in the morning on the 21st British time. And then you can Google if you're not in one of those places.
What is it? Timezone.com, something like that?
Timezone.com, and figure that out. Just midnight Eastern, and figure out where that is for you. You need to post a picture of your cast on to the Purl Together Ravelry group in the Maakin for the MRI progress thread. So we can keep track of those. And then on the 5th, I will go there and use a random number generator to pick a winner. And I will announce that on the 5th in the Ravelry group. And we'll post it everywhere on social media, so you'll be able to find it.
You will know. If you are the winner, you will know. You'll be tagged in multiple places.
Yeah.
Not to worry.
Just log in somewhere and you'll find a tag if you're the winner. So the prize for the cast on is being donated by the MRI Maakers, and there will be 6 winners, and you will each receive a code to download an additional copy of one of the patterns. So if you already bought the hat because you wanted to knit the hat and you thought, oh, I'll get the mittens later or whatever, this is your chance to win that second pattern for free. So
thanks, Billy.
Thanks, Billy.
Yay.
And it's good for a downloaded version or a paper version, but if you opt for the paper version, you'll need to pay the postage. So just keep that in mind.
Well, totally understandable, because who knows where you are in relation to Europe.
Right, but they are shipping paper patterns around the world now. So this is your chance to get a paper pattern.
Awesome. That's exciting.
I needed it.
That's fun. There's a lot of talking. We have to have our coffee and tea here. So
I know.
Oh, Robin, when can you ask technical questions? Anytime.
Well, let's get through the prizes,
and then we'll. No, I don't mean right now. I thought she meant like.
Oh yeah, technical. Yeah. All for the knit along, just in any of the threads. Just. Oh well, we'll have a
Ravelry
for that, right?
Yeah, we'll set that up.
Okay.
But like for right now, I will let Ann get through the spreadsheet, and then I'll scroll back through the comments and make sure I don't miss any. One thing that will help in the comments, if you have a question that you don't want me to miss between now and when we end the live stream, if you will please type the word question in all caps, then type your question in lowercase, then I'll be more likely to see it and not overlook it in my scrolling. And I'll go do that when Ann is done explaining the prizes.
Right. So after the cast on prize, that's sort of our first weekly progress prize. Every Saturday in January after that, so the 12th, the 19th, the 11th, the 18th, and the 25th, we will do another draw for a progress prize. And to qualify for that, you just have to post a picture sometime during that previous week of your progress on your project. And then we'll use a random number generator again from the entries to pick a winner. And the winner is 2 sets of stitch markers, one in the I Thought I Knew How podcast colors and the other in the Purl Together podcast colors. And the winner will get both of those.
Yay.
So we have 3 weeks of a chance to win the 2 sets of stitch markers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so those are sort of our ongoing during the knit along prizes. And then on the 31st at midnight, that will be the end of that'll be the cutoff time for the end of the knit along prizes.
Okay.
And do you want to tell them about the Rafflecopter?
Yes.
Because that applies to the rest of these.
Sure. So Rafflecopter is simply, I'm putting a link here, and here we go. Somebody asked what your Patreon was, so I put the link in the chat there. So that's why I was distracted for a second.
I love you in advance, Patreon person.
So let me put mine in there too real quick. It's pretty easy, but what we're using for the grand prize and some of the others as well, it's a widget it's a service that I pay for. It's called rafflecopter.com. And what it does is I can post it's a little widget, and you go to a website to enter, and there's a little box, and you have a photo or a description of the prize that's being offered. And then you'll have lots of choices for how you want to enter, and you can gain more entries by doing more things. So for example, the only things that we have as requirements, like for the grand prize, for example, the mega bundle at the end, is that you're a subscriber to my YouTube channel, you're a subscriber to Anne's podcast, and then you post your photo on Ravelry. So there's 3 things that are required mandatory entries to qualify for the big prize at the end. But then there's lots of other choices. Like you can choose to visit Anne's website. You can choose to visit her Facebook group. You can choose to visit my Ravelry group. So there's other optional things that can gain you extra entries. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
But as for the other prizes, the progress prizes, I'm going to be building these same little raffle entry mechanisms that you can use for these other prizes as well. And then when we tell it to push the button and say pick a winner, then it does.
Right.
So there you go.
Like magic.
Well, it's not really. It'll take me a while.
So Jana and I are going to be picking some winners from the final, on the final day. And so I'll go through some of those for you. And to qualify for those, you only have to do subscribing to my podcast and subscribing to Jana's YouTube. Right. Yeah. And have participated on the group. You don't have to finish to qualify for these prizes.
Right. You just need to hang out with us and, like, you know, post once in a while and be a participant, you know,
that's right.
Try to be involved.
So we have one for group participation. So being active in the Facebook chat, or the Ravelry chat thread. There's one for being, we called it support staff. So if we notice that you've been helpful in answering other people's questions in the Ravelry thread. Happy helper. Same thing if you've lent a hand to a fellow knitter in the Ravelry thread. I called one Your Future is Bright because that will go to someone who is new to Fair Isle, and we think that you did a really great job on your project. Yeah. And then we'll have one that's just a random draw that will just, you know, random number draw. And those 5 prizes, the award will be a download code from a designer called Merrily by Design, who you can find on, you can find her on Ravelry. She's got several hat patterns. And I know she has another pattern coming out that will match the Sea Pinks hat. It will be a pair of fingerless gloves. So you can go and take a look at what she has already at as Merrily by Design on Ravelry. So, and like I said, there's 5 pattern download codes from her. Then I'm going to skip those 2 for a second. Then we have one for amazing color choices. So if you thought outside of the box and didn't pick up a kit and you're maybe working from stash, or you decided to pick your own colors, we will pick someone who has done that to award a $25 gift certificate to Morehouse Farm, where they have like the gorgeous merino that I used to knit the 2 color versions. So you'll get $25 towards that. There's also a prize called Make It Your Own, and that's for someone who has modified one of the patterns along the way to make it unique to yourself. That's also a $25 gift certificate to Morehouse Farm. There's one called Standing Ovation that will just go to someone who has really impressed us with their work. And then there's also a random draw. So those 4 prizes are all $25 gift certificates to Morehouse Farm. And they're beautiful.
Yeah, shout out to Erin for her generosity and support with that. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's super, super helpful. And then we have another one called Addicted to the Cause. And that will be for someone who has knit and posted photos of more than one project in the course of the knit along. So you don't have to have finished them all, but you've started more than one of the patterns. And that will be a hat kit from Ashcroft Makers, which is, she's an indie dyer located in Scotland. And she'll let you pick your own colors for that, and she'll send you enough to knit a hat with.
Wow. I want that. Hey, wait, do we get to enter the randomness? No.
Bad. There's 2 more. I'm just turning up my volume real quick. There's two more that is called I Thought I Knew How's Pick and Purl Together's Pick. And that's just, I get to pick someone to win and Jana gets to pick someone to win. And the prizes for that are a yarn bowl and a bag from Prairie Bag Works. And you can find them on Etsy. They've been around for several years now. She makes project bags with a little tab. You can hang your wrist on it, hang it from your wrist. And the bags are all different themes and things.
And tell me the name of her shop. I'll put it in the chat.
Sure. It's called Prairie Bag Works, and it's from Etsy.
Okay.
Her things on Etsy.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Oh, really quick. I guess someone was asking about shipping worldwide. Billy answered, Jameson's or Shetland will not ship to the US, but they will ship to the rest of the world. But Jameson and Smith will ship to the US. So
somebody was just asking which yarns were recommended. And so I was typing and answering that either Jameson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight or Jameson's of Shetland's, the Spindrift. And then Billy popped on and was saying that, about the shipping. So yeah.
Yeah. So if we're in the US, we can't get Jameson's of Shetland shipped directly to us.
But you may have a local shop that carries it.
Yeah, both of the companies have websites, have a section of their websites that is a list of people who stock them everywhere. So you can hop over. Okay. Then, so those will be awarded on February 1st. All of those prizes, those are the ones me and Jana are choosing winners for. And they are made up of things that our sponsors have donated to the cause for the Little Long prizes.
And let me just say, you don't have to remember all this. We will type all this out and put it at the top of the Ravel. I will edit the post number 1 and we will put all this on the group on Ravelry. You don't have to remember it all. We're just going over it so you can be excited and see what has been donated. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really, and really thank you to everyone who donated these prizes. You're upping the fun factor, I think. It's great. And then of course our grand prize.
Woo!
To enter the grand prize, you have to subscribe to my podcast, subscribe to Jana's YouTube channel, and post a finished picture.
You do have to finish to win.
You have to finish. Yeah. The others.
Just one. Just you don't have to finish more. Just one hat or one small project. You don't have to finish a bunch of things.
Everything you cast on. You just have to finish one thing. And I'll talk to the cowl people in a minute about that. But so you have to post your finished picture to, we're going to have a separate thread for just for the finished pictures, finished object pictures, and do those 2 other things on the Rafflecopter. Now, if you do the other Rafflecopter things that are listed, you'll get extra entries into this drawing. That's where that's the reason why you want to do all the things on the Rafflecopter. And we will pick one person to win a bag, a zippered bag, right? Like a Notions bag.
Oh, yeah, here. I don't have all the things in front of me because I was photographing and then I forgot to go get them. But I do have, and I want to have a shout out to Lindsay and Jill. They're here, but this is a project bag that they sewed.
Love those dumplings.
It's one of these Japanese knots where you go like this and then it closes. This is fully lined. It's made very well.
Nothing.
It's light gray. And then a coordinating zippered Notions bag that goes with it. And yeah. So, and that is lined also. See? So it's beautiful. So just a shout out to them because these are handmade and they did a fantastic job. So go ahead. Sorry.
So we have a couple pom-poms, hat pom-poms. There's Jana's thrown in a couple hanks of skeins of yarn. I can't remember if I sent you 2 or 4. I sent you 4 balls of yarn that is like a cashmere merino blend. There's some tea. Stitch markers. I can't remember. The row counter ring from Knitter's Pride.
I don't
even there's so much that
Anyway, it's a bundle. Yeah, it's a bundle. You'll get a couple projects out of it, plus stitch markers and a row counter ring from Knitter's Pride. And so, yeah. So you need to do the things for the Rafflecopter for the entries. And then I have all those things. I'll be taking photographs when the light's a little better later today, posting all that. And then I will ship that out, the first week of February, unless I get snowed in. And then you'll get it when I can get to town to the post office. Right.
It's the risk we take.
Living in the middle of nowhere, that's true.
That's right.
Yay. So that's a lot. That's a lot, you guys. So it's really, it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of chatter. Let me go back and look at the comments. If you have technical knitting questions, if you need pattern support, basically, we're going to be doing tutorials through, Anne and I have a Google document shared list of things we're showing on our channels that are techniques. We're not going to be walking you through the patterns line by line by line, because we don't want someone to be able to watch the YouTube videos later and just be able to knit it from the video. Like, that's not cool. You need to download the pattern and pay for it. That's the whole point here, is to raise money for the Shetland MRI appeal. That is the point of all of this effort, is for them to be able to raise money to obtain an MRI scanner for the Shetland Islands. So we will be doing general technique videos, though, that will stay on the channel indefinitely. They'll be available to you whenever you need them, whether that's, how to manage your yarn so you don't get tangled, the provisional cast on, the swatching tutorials that Anne has already done. So you want to subscribe to the channels either way, just so you don't miss any of that. If you have questions about a technique or questions as we go along, then you'll need to just post those in the Ravelry thread and we'll answer them as we log in and we're able. I mean, obviously we all have like real jobs and lives and stuff, but we're on pretty frequently.
Right.
So, okay.
Before you start with the questions, I want to go back real quick and talk to the people doing the cowl about finishing, if you want to qualify for the finishing prize. Now, I haven't done the whole cowl yet. I did a modified version of the cowl. This is my modified version. So it's 2 colors.
Beautiful.
Thank you. It's 2 colors. It's a little shorter because I left out 1 repeat of this pattern here and the steek stitches. And I left it in the round. I didn't steek it and do the toggles and everything. And this was just something I wanted to do for myself. I'm doing the full cowl for the knit along, but there we go. Oh, I'm nice and toasty now. But I want to let you know, I did the math. Okay, in order to finish in time, you are going to want to knit 6 rounds per day. Each round of the proper cowl is 303 stitches. I am fairly quick, and it takes me about 25 minutes to do each round. So if you are new to Fair Isle and knitting kind of slowly, or if you are just a slow knitter in general, or if you just don't have time to sit down and knit for 3 hours a day, you might, and you want to qualify for that final prize, you might also want to knit one of the smaller projects like a hat, just to make sure that you finish something and you can be registered for that final project.
Right.
When we get closer towards the end of the month, I will post a video on steeking the cowl and doing the finishing work to sort of walk you through those final steps. So don't panic about the steek. We will work through that together. And if you are working with the Shetland yarn, it really is not a scary process. When you do the cut, those stitches are going to stay right where they are because the yarn is grippy enough. If you're working with the Morehouse, we're just going to do some prep work before you do that cut. Same thing with the Ashcroft. If you opted for Ashcroft Makers yarn, there's just a preparation step you need to do beforehand, and you'll be okay. But just know that that information is coming later. And if you don't have a lot of time to knit every day, you might just want to do a smaller project too, so you can qualify for that final prize. Okay.
Okay, I'm scrolling back through some of the questions. Robin, I typed in there, but yes, 3 or 4 inches of tails should be fine when you change colors. One thing I want to bring up about changing colors, there's a couple ways to do this. I am learning how to do the spit splice thing where I'm going to investigate that, and I'll do a video if it works out, like if I feel confident enough doing it, because I'm learning too, right?
Yeah.
We're all always evolving and learning. Like I never claimed to know everything about everything there is to do about knitting. But anyway, so there is a technique where you can spit splice, like Anne showed in her swatch tutorial, but where you can wrap the yarn around, like let's say you have a color change coming up in 5 stitches. So you could wrap the yarn around and measure 5 stitches worth of your working yarn, and then do the frayed bit spit splicing, right? And then
It's so hygienic.
And then brush your teeth first, and then and then have that color change come out on the exact stitch when you need it. Now that takes some practice, but if you don't want to do that and you're just going to change colors like the rest of us newbies usually do, then there's a couple ways you can do it. You can just pick up your new color and start knitting with it, leaving about 3 or 4 inches of the old color that you're going to weave in later. Or, as Anne pointed out in our last live stream, apparently on Shetland, they just tie a little square knot and carry on.
Well, that would be, yeah. When they first do the change, they would just tie the 2 ends together, leaving a long enough tail to weave in later, and then untie it a bit. Anyway, they would weave the ends in. Yes. But if you are doing like the headband or the cowl, because they, this is my headband.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. Because they end up folded and you don't see the inside, you don't see like the back side at all because it's reversible. I had several, well-known Shetland knitters tell me that when they do something like this, they just tie the ends together and snip it close, and that's it. They don't weave it in.
Yeah.
So that's an option.
Yeah.
If you're doing this, I wouldn't do that for like a hat or the mittens. I would go ahead and weave in. But if it's not going to show ever, then.
Right. Okay. One question I want to address here. Bonnie says, are we required to log into the web prize generator? You mean, do you have to make an account at Rafflecopter? No, it's just a service that I use that produces this prize. It's a way that we can draw random number generator. Okay, let me back up. It's a way that we can choose winners randomly and have links to all of our stuff. So it's just a tool to use to do that. You don't have to create an account for Rafflecopter or anything like that. I hope that answers your question if I understood you. Okay, yes, someone else says, I ordered the PDF pattern but want to order the hard copy also. Is that possible? And Billy says, yes, hard copies are available from the website, MRI Maakers with 2A's.com. I'll put that in the comments.
Under the shop link, there's a special link that's for the hardcover or the hard copy patterns.
Right. Yeah, so when you log in and you go there, you'll see a little title bar under the photo that says shop, and then you'll see all the patterns that you can order downloadable as well as the hard copy. And then you can also go and order finished hats, finished cowls, finished objects. You can go order things from them that are already made by knitters in Shetland. So if if you're working on your own hat, but you're like, have a birthday coming up and you're like, ooh, I'm not going to be able to knit 5 of these in a month, go buy one. And the proceeds go to the MRI Shetland Appeal.
Right. I'm going to throw something out here, just real quick. The patterns are also available in Norwegian because they were able to find someone in Norway who offered to translate the pattern into Norwegian.
Awesome.
I have set a personal goal to find someone who can translate them into Japanese. And I thought that this would be easy because I know quite a few people who have lived in Japan. Uh-huh. And I figured they probably know, knitting's popular there too. They probably know knitters. And we found several knitters who then said, no, they don't feel confident in getting it right. So if anyone knows someone who is fluent enough in Japanese and English that they would take that on for the MRI Maakers, that would be a huge help to the cause because Fair Isle knitting is extremely popular in Japan. And I think that once they have the pattern in Japanese, that would be a really good boost to sales for them as well. So I'm just throwing it out there. If anyone knows, someone who's a Japanese knitter, put them in touch with MRI Maakers, please. Let's do this. Let's make it work.
Wow. That's
random thought. Just please carry on.
It's the internet. You never know.
You never know.
Yeah. I mean, you never know who's going to watch this video and you know, be like, oh yeah, my neighbor speaks Japanese.
Yeah, it's all the time. Yeah.
Who am I? I'm trying to, there's somebody who I can picture their face in my mind, and I think they live in California, and I can't think of the name of, I'll have to think on that.
Okay.
Look at you, knitting away.
I'm doing it. I'm on the first row of chart A.
I'm still getting my crochet thing on the needle. I've been typing.
Yeah. You've been responsible.
No. Okay. Oh, Pat, I hope that answered your question earlier. Now, people went on the Ravelry group that, you know, as we've been talking, and they're like not seeing all the things we're talking about with the
threads.
Yeah, the threads for the prizes. And I'm like, okay, well, we're not going to be drawing those right this minute. I will get those up in the next day or two, but I don't have them all created just yet. So it'll be okay. We're not going to be doing any drawing of those things the next day or two. So, right. Okay, right. Robin says, do they have to be a knitter to translate into Japanese? My son's manager is Japanese and fluent in both languages. Well, I don't know. Billy did it.
The problem is that there is knitting specific terminology and understanding that you need to know. So it really would be best if it's someone who is a knitter.
That would be ideal. Yes.
Yeah.
My blanket keeps falling off. It's my shawl blanket. Schlanket. Keeps falling off.
I saw a question that I'm going to go ahead and answer, and you can cast on. Keep casting on. I also knit an entire needle and a half without changing colors. So
you're like knit purl, because it's habit, right? You get started with the muscle memory, knit purl, you forget. Okay. Wait.
Okay. So there was a question about how to mark the pattern if you want to do a 2-colored version like this, and I want to talk about that. That actually came up in the live stream that we did last night.
Night before last.
It's difficult to just say how to do that with this pattern because the background color changes. So let me grab my hat. So here's my 2 hats. One is the proper one and one is my 2-color version that I did. So let me talk you through how I figured it out. So here and here, the background colors are shades of blue. But in this chart and this chart up here, the background shades are white.
Right.
So what you're looking at as you work the 2-colored version is as you get to each chart, you want to make your decision. What is the background color and what is the pattern color or the motif color? Or I like to think about it as what's being drawn on the background. The stitches that are being drawn on the background are what you're going to do in your contrast color. Mm-hmm. So here we have this one where it's like a diamond and then a staggered stitches here, and that's what's being drawn. So over here, I did the diamond and the staggered stitches in the contrast color. So even though this is white as the background and dark as the contrast, over here, it's my background color is the dark color and my contrast color is the light color. And then same thing up here, the background colors change to shades of blue, but the pattern colors are done in white and blue and yellow. But what's being drawn is this star and these little pyramid-y shapes. So that's what gets translated into the contrast color over here. And you just work it chart by chart. And however you want to mark it is up to you. You could go through and highlight those stitches. I just paid attention to the pattern and what was being drawn and worked it that way. The thing is, you look at this and you're like, oh, it's so complicated. But when you look at it row by row, you're just dealing with 2 colors. Yeah. So.
Well, and I want to interject that. A lot of people that are brand new to Fair Isle are starting to like get a little nervous. And it looks so complicated. I've never done Fair Isle. One thing I want to say is You can totally do this. It's just knitting. It's just knit, knit, knit. There's no cables. There's nothing complicated. There's a little bit of decreasing. That's it. There's only purling on like the first 10 rows. You
Yeah.
can totally do this. If you can just follow block by block by block, you can totally do it. It says very specifically, you know, knit this blue one, then knit this white one.
Right.
Right. Row by row by row. It's just like if you're new to reading a chart, I have a video for that on the channel. Just search the individual channel about how to read a chart. But if you can read a chart, you know, from right to left going across, you're just knitting one stitch at a time. The only tip I have about that, as I've said in the other, the 5 tips video I did last week, go ahead, put your markers between your chart repeats and then just double check after each one. So if you have your chart, you'll want to put a marker at the beginning of the chart and at the end of the chart. And then when you get to your marker, you'll know, okay, I'm just going to go double check to make sure I didn't make any mistakes and everything matches up. And even if you're brand new to Fair Isle, it'll be fine. And we'll be here to help. It's all right. You can do it. You're the boss of your knitting. Don't overthink it. Yeah, Renee says deep breath. Don't overthink it. Okay, Billy says just a quick point about the finished things. Like if you wanted to order a hat that someone else is from Shetland has already knitted, they're working, they're a little bit back ordered at the moment. So the hats in the traditional Harriet's pattern colorways are out of stock at the moment because of the holidays. That makes sense because of Christmas. But they're putting some alternative things up online. So just watch for that. Watch their Facebook page as well. They post when they have alternative things available and they're really good about that. So yeah, that's a great, and Fern says that's a great problem to have, low inventory. Yes.
Yes.
And I want to say, we've talked about this before. Those hats are very reasonably priced. I mean, even with the exchange rate between, you know, US dollars, Canadian dollars, and Great British pounds, it's still a fantastic, you know, as knitters, you know how much work goes into making those. It's an amazing price. If you wanted something as a gift, it's a, yeah.
These, so what happened was that they have gotten an order from someone in Switzerland who ordered something like 50, 55 hats, something like that, at the end of the Christmas season when they were pretty much sold out. So they are scrambling to get more made. And even there's a few people in the group who can sort of, they have the time to sort of sit down and crank them out.
Yeah.
And even those ladies, you know, it's 6 to 10 hours to produce that when they're super fast, and you know, so it's a lot of work. But I think it's an amazing price for the quality of the hat that you get.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So this is the second one I've made, and I worked on it pretty consistently over the holiday, you know. And I think it took me 2.5, 3 days. I mean, and I worked on it a lot. I mean, I'm not very fast. You guys saw my 5 tips for Fair Isle knitting, and I'm like doing this awkward with my other hand. I mean, I'm not fast. And if I can do it in, like 3 days, you can too. So,
Okay.
Yes.
You want to, should we pull some more questions?
Yeah, I'm reading. Let me scroll here and see. Oh, Donna says, I worked with a lady that has moved to Japan. I still keep in touch with her and I will definitely ask her. That would be great.
Awesome.
Donna, I recognize her name. She's in my group. So tag me, post in the group if you, let me know if you find that. Okay, let me make sure I'm not missing anything. It really warms my heart that people are like, oh, it's the first time knitting Fair Isle. I can do this. Yeah, absolutely you can.
Yeah, this was my first Fair Isle project. So this hat is the first thing I've ever knit in Fair Isle.
Amazing.
And it came out really, really
You're like doing the Vanna move.
I'm so proud of my hat. And there's room for improvement. I can look at it and see, but it looks like a real hat. Just take your time. some of you're going to get some wonkiness, and some of that will block out, and some of that you'll just love because it was your first Fair Isle project. And no one's good at everything, no one's good at anything the first time. So just, it's okay. Just breathe and don't overthink it.
That's a good mantra for us all.
Good mantra.
Oh, and I say that because I'm exactly that. I overthink everything. We've talked about that. It takes me like weeks to figure out what checks to order. It's stupid.
Yeah.
I overthink everything. Oh, Jan is back. Yeah, I recognize her username from the other night. She says, I'm taking your advice and morphing my pattern into the 3 colors that I already have. I'm excited to start. We're excited to see your cast on photos. Yeah. So yes.
I don't think I've seen a 3-color hat yet, so I'm excited about that.
And Cassandra says, no way. That hat is gorgeous, Anne.
Thanks. It's my first time.
Hey, I have a question for you. And you probably said this while I was trying to find my waist yarn and get started, or I was typing. So yeah, I probably wasn't paying attention. That's on me. You probably said this. So on people, when you post your cast on photos, just go ahead and post that today. We won't have a separate thread for cast on. Just post your photo in the chat thread, on the MRI Maakers chat thread in Ravelry.
I'll look there for it.
Yeah, and we'll go and she'll write down all the numbers, because you know how Ravelry puts a post number on each comment, and she'll write them all down and do a spreadsheet and do her random number ask Siri thing.
I just ask Siri. I say, Siri, pick a number between 1 and 40 or whatever, and
right.
Yeah.
Right. So I will make different threads. I mean, I'll ask Anne Anne's in charge of the work in progress prizes. So I'll do what she tells me, and we'll set that up, and it will become clear. I'll just do what she says. It's fun.
We're going to have a progress thread, right? That was so there'll be an in progress thread for you to post your in progress pictures.
Right. That would be easier.
I'll look at, from post 1 until the post that's the cutoff for the time. And I'll draw from there for that first prize. And then week 2, we'll pick up at the next one until the cutoff time.
And that's what I did on my Christmas ornament thread. Was I just said, post all your stuff right here. And then after I made a post announcing the winner. And then for everything from there forward was for the next time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Kristen says, I'm new to Fair Isle. Is there a good way to keep even tension when catching floats? Yes. Anne has a tutorial video on her YouTube channel about her recommendations for keeping even tension, so that you don't have that bunchy puckering. Yeah.
Basically just spread out your stitches before you change your colors.
And you want to make sure
there's demonstration of that in the video, but just, when I knit normally, I tend to keep my stitches tighter than when I do Fair Isle. When I do Fair Isle, I really spread them out before I pull in the next color. But that information is in the tutorial with closer pictures, so you can see.
Well, and you want to be careful going around your juncture of your double points.
Yeah. So with when you are working on multiple double pointed needles, say I have a light gray here, and I'm not going to use it again until over here. When you're carrying it from here to here, you want to just take your finger and hold that carry against your work, so it doesn't shoot across this way, but it actually comes up and over like that, if that makes sense. And I cover that in the video.
Right.
Tutorial, so.
I'm typing and answering a question. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. So, and I'll just talk as well. That's easier. Okay. So Case says, what do you consider a cast on picture? Well, what I would consider a valid cast on photo for an entry would be posting a photo of, your first row, your cast on row with your needles and the yarn maybe in there too, if you want. I don't know, your cat, a gnome.
Cup of tea.
Do not, please though, when you guys do photographs, the other thing I want to say is, since this is a paid for copyrighted pattern, please do not post photos of the pattern. Don't do that. You'll notice on my video, when I posted a snippet or a tiny bit of a color or a chart, I covered the rest of the pattern. We do not want people to be able to like swipe the pattern off our photos or our videos online and not buy the pattern. You know, knitters are fantastic people. I mean, and you don't want to think people would do that, but you know, people do. So yes, please don't post photos of the pattern. You could just say, hey, I'm casting on for the hat, or I'm casting on for the gloves. Here's my first row and the yarn I chose, and yay. Yeah, just post a picture in Ravelry. If you're unsure how to do that, Ravelry has a fantastic help wiki, a help file. But there's just a little Polaroid kind of an icon. You just click that and upload your photo. So, okay, I'm reading. All right, does anybody have any other questions? We've been on for, I don't know.
I feel like we missed some questions like way back.
Let me scroll. Let me scroll and look. I thought I got them all, but maybe not. If I missed your question, oh, go ahead, Ann. Go ahead.
I was just saying you're welcome, Margie. Good luck with your tension. Congratulations, Robin, on being a cancer survivor. That's wonderful.
Oh, absolutely.
Helping.
If I missed your question, please retype it for me. Type question in caps, retype it if you don't mind. I would appreciate that. I'm scrolling and skimming, but I could have missed it. Scrolling. And like I said, we have a list of tutorial videos that there's a couple that I still need to make in the next week or two, so don't worry. And there's no rush. By the way, this is a knit along, not a knit ahead. There's no prize for getting done sooner than everyone else. There's no prize for that.
Take your time.
Take your time. And it's okay.
That one was for Billy and he answered it.
Okay, Jackie says. What's that, Ann?
I said, maybe that was all our questions.
Jackie says, I weave my floats up and down, which eliminates the long floats, just saying. Okay, what is your, all right. In one of the charts, let's say you use the accent color, which is yarn F, and you don't use it again. Let's say you're using that and you're going along using the accent and you don't use that again for another 4 or 5 rows. Do you cut it or do you carry it up?
I don't carry any. I just weave everything in. But I know people do carry upward. If you are going to carry upward, you want to twist it around one of the other yarns, and you want to make sure that the tension on that front V stitch is proper, not too tight, not too loose as you go up. I think that's what she's talking about.
Well, and that's been a question. That's been a question that's come up on my YouTube channel a couple of times. There's one gal that said, she's been knitting for 40 years. She always carries her yarn up vertically. And I'm like, that's fantastic. If you can do that and not have any like tension issues, I'm not that adverse. So yeah, that's why I always say you're the boss of your knitting. You do what works for you, right? Because what works for Ann maybe doesn't work for me. Like I cannot hold my yarn the way she does, right? I can't do it. So somebody says, Veronica says, remember to tell it, yes, differentiating the colors in the front and back. All right. We talked about this a couple of different times, but we'll say it again here. If you are a right-handed person, remember Anne a minute ago was talking about the difference between the foreground colors or the pattern that's drawn on, and then you have the background colors. If you're a right-handed person, put the pattern yarn or the yarn that you want to stand out, the yarn that draws the pattern, put that in your left hand and put the background color in your right hand if you're doing 2 hands like that, okay? Oh, Billy says Harriet cuts and weaves, her daughter carries them up, both work. Exactly, you do what works best for you. So again, if you're right-handed, the pattern color or the color that is in the foreground goes in your non-dominant hand. The background color goes in your dominant hand, okay?
Yep.
All right. Kathleen says, first time, start with smaller needles just for the rib of the hat. Yes, the pattern does specify which needles. Yeah.
The pattern only suggests one size of needle.
No, the hat pattern says 2.
Oh, does it? Okay. Okay. I'm looking at the fingerless.
Okay.
Book.
The hat, if you're knitting the hat, yes, you do the ribbing in the smaller size. You change to the larger size needle, I believe, before you begin the first chart.
You're right. You do the increase round.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's again, because the corrugated rib does not pull in like a regular ribbing. And so you're just giving yourself that extra bit of scrunch.
Right. Right. Okay, and then AJ says, how wind resistant is the hat in Shetland yarn? I was thinking of doing double layering the ribbing. Well, I live in Wyoming and it is stinking windy, and my husband drives a snowplow, and he's been wearing his hat, the one he took from me, the first one I made, he stole it. And he's been wearing it out in the plow for the last 3 days. However, some of that's going to depend upon your tension and whether you knitted the gauge or not, and whether you're knitting a denser fabric or a loose, airy fabric because your needles are bigger than mine. I don't know. Wind resistance is kind of a subjective thing.
Yeah,
it's wool, so wool is great. And
I wore hats the whole time I was on Shetland, and it is always windy on Shetland. And I was warm. As far as specific wind resistance, how much was getting through, I don't know. I don't remember, but I was warm in my hats.
Yeah.
And they were all knit with Shetland wool, so.
And it depends if you're bald or not. I'm just saying. It's subjective.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kathleen says, I answered you. Post your cast on pictures in the chat thread because I did not make a special cast on thread this morning. My morning was a little messed up. So just go ahead and post those in the chat thread on Ravelry and the Purl Together group. Okay. All right. Let's see if I missed anything. Oh, Phyllis says she'll ask her daughter-in-law. She's Japanese.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Phyllis is one of my patrons and she's in my group and she came to my retreat and she's fantastic. Well, they're all fantastic. You guys are all, I'm so happy you came and joined us for a Happy New Year chat this morning. Yeah. Afternoon, maybe for you. It's lunchtime for you, isn't it now?
Yeah. It's okay. We have to stop so I can eat. I'll pass out.
Okay. Robin says I didn't use a smaller needle for the ribbing, but it measured okay.
You'll probably be fine.
And let's see, have you found the needle size recommended works for obtaining gauge? It depends on you. There's really not a hard and fast rule about that. As I always say, everybody knits differently. I needed to size up because I was knitting maybe I was a little tense with Fair Isle, right? So you have to swatch. That's the point of swatching. Some people will get gauge right away using the recommended size needle and other people won't. I had to swatch twice to find what works for me. So yeah, the pattern, okay, Bonnie says the pattern says to place a stitch marker every 18 stitches, but the first chart is 16, repeat. Okay, well, Bonnie, I don't know if you're using the hat pattern or what, but just be mindful of that. I didn't really need to place, I think if you're using the hat, that's correct. I didn't need to use stitch markers until I got to the star chart. But yeah, you need to adjust that depending. My only point with all of that is to place stitch markers at the beginning and the end of each chart repeat of the more you don't need to do that for the ribbing chart. Obviously it's only, you'd have 100 stitch markers on there, but that's an exaggeration, but you see what I mean. Right. So you have to just do what works for you, and you may need to adjust that depending on the pattern you're using, depending on which chart it is. I'm just saying place markers at the beginning and the end of each chart repeat, and then double check that you've done that section correctly before you move on to the next.
Yeah.
Going round and round. So you minimize the tinking and any mistakes that might occur. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Billy says, I'm afraid with the New Year's house invasion and an abundance of food, I have to go eat. All right, Billy, thanks so much for coming. It's cool that you were. Say hello to Harriet. Tell Harriet we miss her, and I'm still wanting her on the podcast. Tell her I'm going to send her a message. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm just reading. All right, Denise here from the Netherlands. Yes, buy the pattern. Join us. Okay. All right. If we'll wait a minute or two to make sure we've got everybody's questions, but I think we're about wrapped up our cast on party. All right, as always, go and join the groups. We'll be around to answer any questions. Billy's fantastic for pattern support, customer support. Yay. All right, I am actually going to cast on. I will post my cast on photo in the group.
There's my photo.
And you're making the gloves in the gray colorway, right?
Yes. And I have the cowl. The cowl I've already started because I started it before we decided to do the knit along. So there's my start on the cowl. That's my provisional cast on yarn there. So
and
I'll send with chart B.
Now tell people again, if they didn't watch the last live stream, tell them again about the markers on your waist yarn edge.
Okay, so on the headband and on the cowl, if you are not doing the provisional cast on, okay, if you do the provisional cast on, you don't have to worry about the pattern where it says to leave the mark, to put the markers on.
Right.
If you are just casting on and you're going to stitch the ends together, there in the pattern, it tells you to attach stitch markers. And when I first started knitting the headband, I thought I was just placing the stitch markers along. And so as I started knitting, I was carrying them up like these stitch markers. Right. But those stitch markers that the pattern says to attach on that first round are meant to be attached to that first round. Because then when you go back and you fold the two halves together, your cast on edge and your stitches that are still live on your needle do not look the same, and it will be difficult for you to work the connection, sew the connection so that everything's even. Right. So you will use the stitch markers at the bottom and the stitch markers that are on your working to connect and make sure that that strip is attached as evenly as you can make it.
Yeah, so basically it's markers that you match up at the edges and it matches.
Yeah. So, but if you're doing the provisional cast on, you will put those stitches back on a needle and then you'll just work it 1-to-1. So you don't put those first level ones.
Right, because I'm going to do that and use a 3-needle bind off. And so I'm just going to do stitch, I'm just binding off my stitches that are matching up like, regular. Wow, the light changed here all of a sudden. And then, but yeah, I get what you're saying, where if you have a marker at the bottom and a marker at the top, when you match their bookmarks, you need to match those up.
They line up together.
Okay. All right. Oh, Scott. Yeah, I recognize your name from the group. All right. So you cast on and done your first round. All right. Fern took a photo after cast on, wasn't thinking. Okay. Yeah. I just don't want people to share the pattern. People need to buy it. So we'll just be respectful about that. All right. Thank you for being willing to retake your cast on photo. That's awesome. Okay. Hopefully I haven't missed anyone's question. I don't think so. All right. I'm going to go make my sleepy teenagers some breakfast and cast on properly because I have trouble. I can't do more than one thing at a time here. Oh. All right. Thanks, Jill. Okay. I think we're good to go. And thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to finally getting to start this. We've been working on getting ready for it for a month now. So it's
exciting. I know. I think, yeah. I think I first messaged you in October.
Yeah. I think it's come together pretty quick, but because of that, we've the two of us, we've been producing videos,
I know,
planning. And so it's good to be to the point where we can actually be knitting now. It's awesome.
True. All right. Thanks so much. Happy New Year to you all.
Happy New Year, everyone.
All right. Bye.